I think it's very easy to get polarized and to get myopic about what you think the job of the artist is.
Yes.
Like, it's not to be purely escapist. It's not to be purely over-engaged. It's the balance. And we need to stop thinking in binaries.
Yes.
We need to really start thinking on scale, like a gradation scale of going, today I'm going to be here, then this I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here. And the best thing you can do, if you feel like, what can I do as an artist? Tell the truth.
My mantra for life and music, and it's literally tattooed on my body, is Duke Ellington's quote, "Beyond category," which he used to describe people and music. And I feel like this new EP of yours is very much claiming a space beyond category. And I think that you do that across the board and have fought to do that.
Yes.
And I think that the world is trying very hard right now to categorize and contain and constrain people. And I am wondering if music is actually the best tool to fight that impulse.
I think this is what people are wanting. They're wanting, as everything rushes to constrain, people are yearning for the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
I think, like, there's a level of rebellion that kind of comes with being less categorizable. It's not like you can't talk about the music. It's not like you can't talk about the influences. You don't have to live in a box to be able to talk about it.
No, that's right. And I think music refuses categorization and boxing and genre definitions. And in fact, I feel like as soon as there is a genre, that genre is creating new streams.
Yeah.
Right? And it's always the influences. It's like all of these influences funnel into one place, but then it goes like this again.
Yeah, it does.
I find all those echoes that are in things to be so fascinating. And I know that you, and I want to go back to this, but you've been a musician your entire life. And I think that when we come into music so young, we can't help but having all of these things permeate and mix and create our own musicianship, because it's our world, you know, it's our sonic world.
It is. And it's also worth noting that, like, as a Brit, like, we didn't get everything from the States in its kind of individual funnel.
Oh,
like, we
sure.
didn't get,
Yeah.
here's the grunge and it's only going to the grunge people. Blah. You have to understand the idea of, like, distance and perspective. If you're looking, let's say that you could see America from the UK across the Atlantic, right? Like, stood in New York, you'd look down at Atlanta and go, that's quite far away. You'd look across at LA and go, that's quite far away. But from our perspective, it looks like it's all very close together.
Sure.
And so when you send us, like, the thing, the way, when you send us all music, like, it all comes together, like everyone grouped their shipping. You know?
Yeah.
It all comes together. And we didn't necessarily go, you know, the way that it kind of behaved in the charts. Like, a lot of people would, like, sit in front of the radio and listen to the chart show on Sunday at 4:00. And you would just, like, you know, play record button, make your little mixtapes. But it was very much like we absorbed everything kind of together. So there are a lot of people, the way that we absorb music as Brits from American music was very cross-genre. And that in turn made us quite cross-genre as a people. And so my time was, like, you know, the hip-hop era. And I was very, very in 90s hip-hop, 90s R&B, also into 80s soul, into, like, funk and disco. My mum DJ'd disco, so that was, like, her thing. And so but she also loved, like, I also loved, like, the kind of alt country music. She liked more the classic country type stuff. So she was into Dolly, whereas, like, I was into the band. And, like, and she, like, where I would have been into, like, you know, Mary J. Blige or Tribe Called Quest, she'd be into like Barry White, or like
Yeah.
she was all in the kind of those kinds of things. So it was like we would have like similar but different eras like of
I was going to ask
taste.
too, but also, did this blurring also extend across time? Like,
Yeah.
right?
I think it
So
was always
American
very
music, but maybe the time frame was a bit wider than you would have experienced it if you were right here.
yeah, very
Yeah,
much
yeah,
so
yeah.
because like the speed with which you would discover
Yes.
something was more down to record collectors
Yes.
and like the culture of music discovery generally was like that was something that we would get through our parents' record collections, and mostly only through that because we weren't in America. And so like the way that I absorbed music was different. And so that's kind of what makes my sound, my discovery of sound move the way that it is moving at the moment.
Yeah.
And part of my fight, period, has been the freedom to do that because my lens, like being me, growing up in an English village on the seaside, very isolated, and the only things that I felt like I had like attachment to that reflected me was Black America.
Right. Well, I mean, that's always been one of our biggest exports, right? Black American culture. And it's, God, listening to you say these things, I'm really feeling and remembering how much there was that burning desire to connect with culture
Yes.
across the ocean, and that's where it came from. It came
It was
through
a burning desire
music,
as well.
movies. Yeah, it's just like what is happening, and how do I fit into that?
Yeah, how do I connect to it? How do I grasp it somehow? You know, and so it becomes an even more, and then the way that that connects to people, certainly in my generation, is that we start reacting to it.
So when you came here to this country, is that what you felt, that all of this sort of diversity of influence,
Yeah.
this blend, was negated, and there was a need to find the box to put you in? Is that something that happened instantly here? Because
Yeah, I think
the
it
boxes
really
are-
was. I think like the boxing was almost like it was a desperate immediate thing, and I knew it was going to be like that. I knew that it's going to be very hard for people to resist the temptation to box, but because people didn't, half the time people didn't even know. It's only been the last few years that people have really got on board with the idea that there were black people in England anyway. And so, but after being here a while, I was like, oh, I know people. That's really useful. I also know how this country functions, which is also very differently.
Sure.
And that then allowed me to kind of get into like the philosophy of what I care about.
Yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? It's having this very independent, unique, personal vision, mission, sound, and then building the community around that can make it happen.
Yes, exactly.
Right, finding your actual people, which I think
Yes.
that's consistent with all of these women that we're talking, all the artists that we're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Right, and that takes some time.
It does take time. And if
It's
you've literally just
establishing your own
landed,
culture,
like,
yeah.
you've just got to figure it out in
Yeah,
time. And so
yeah.
I think every record I do, I'm fixing something, or I'm gaining something, I'm finding someone.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why the search is really joyful and exciting, because you're like, I have this thing now, I've been looking for this thing,
Right.
or I've been looking for this kind of collaborator, or I actually want to create songs in this kind of way. And so like all of those things are really, I think they're just really underrated, of like how you get to the point of actually enjoying your job in music.
But yeah, to build that musical world of your own, it's pretty necessary.
Yeah, and isolation, that is probably the core tenet of my existence, has been loneliness,
Yeah.
being alien. Like, it's funny, when I remember coming to New York and people going, you don't sound like you're from New York, but you have energy like you're from here. And New York really claimed me. It was like, you're from here. I would meet people in totally different places, and they'd be like, you do well in New York. I'm like, they'd be like, you give New York energy. You know, unsurprisingly.
Because it's everyone. Because here, everyone's here. Everyone is bringing their. I mean, it's funny. You could use the the general culture of New York is sort of a metaphor for what we're talking about in music. It's everything funneling into this place. It's people bumping up against each other,
Very much so.
sharing ideas, transmuting ideas. It's always been that way. That's why I am so happy here too.
And so
You can't avoid it. So I think when you talk about your influences again, it's just such an interesting mix. And it goes, what I love is that you also trace this back thousands of years,
Yes,
right?
I do.
to your ancestry in Ghana.
Yes.
And this like deep artistic presence in West Africa that really goes back that far. This to me is fascinating because I know that you had sort of vision about your life in music when you were very small. I also was very small when I knew I was a musician. My family history, I cannot trace back very far. I don't know what it is in my DNA that propels me to do this, but I know it's something. But to know what that is.
Yeah, because I'm
Right.
like child of immigrants.
Yeah. So I have so many questions about how that feels to have this ancestry that walks with you, that guides you. I want to hear about just like living with that.
So it can present as frustrating because from about 3, I could sing as soon as I could speak, and in tune and with runs, and so I'm like, sorry, what? I'm not supposed to do this?
Everyone doesn't do this.
Like, what? Also, everyone doesn't do this. Like, but also, this must be just the thing I'm supposed to do. So I'm gonna do this. This is duh, right? And then so first thing is like everyone's going, that's not real. That's not a real thing people do. And I'm very out. I'm in a perpetually overcast English village on an island, that's cold and dark and very much not where the instinct comes from. I go as far as to say the antithesis of where the instinct comes from.
Yes.
And so my body's going, but my environment's going. I'm like, what? What?
Problem child.
Yes, you're a whole problem. I'm like, well, that's kind of 100% who I am as a person. So first, you're walking around just like your body's instincts are counter everything that exists. And then, like, you finally make it to a city and you're like other people that have, like, the... Yes, and then you find a carnival and you're like, oh, thank God for carnival. Oh, my God, I'm saved. And you just hear, and you smell jerk chicken and you see someone with a machete and a green coconut. You're like, why does this feel right? I don't understand. I can't even drink yet, but this looks right. So, like, you feel these kind of these kind of bodily draws and you can't make any sense of it. And as you get older and as you absorb things start making sense, but everyone's still telling you, no, you don't want this. But you also live in Europe, and that's where Eurocentrism, it's ground zero white people. And like, they're like, you want to have no bum because it's the 90s. And you want to be like straight up and down because it's the 90s, the heroin and chic times, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that feels wrong with the way that I dance. I don't know how I would dance in the way that I really enjoy dancing.
Yeah.
If one cheek didn't bump off of the other, like I wouldn't even get the ricochet timing that is required. Like, it would make it physically
This is my
really
instrument.
challenging. This is my instrument. You went into my soul and you pulled out a feeling. Thank you. This is my instrument. It really is though. And like, I've always been cheeked up. Like from a baby, I've been cheeked up. Thank you, universe. Like, it feels very in your body and that it's inescapable. And so everyone's attempt to divorce the body from the art form feels like rapacious.
Yes. Yeah.
And offensive. And the idea that you can, like, put some other body or some other path within you and walk that honestly and that not be disturbing to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be in me. It's as much my brain as it is my finger. It's everywhere. And so, like, I don't get that feeling of being divorced from it. And I don't ever feel like I don't know where I'm going in music.
Yeah.
I always feel like that the path is just, I'm walking it from birth till death, and music's all over it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it isn't. Sometimes I take a break. But like, I've got to live life and, you know, not be a loner and weird and stuff. Although I'm weird, I'm always going to be weird. But like, you know.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and I think when you have had to work hard, when you've had to consciously find self and joy and comfort and community in this music, I think it puts you in a space where the world is harsh, the world is dark, and the music that you make in times like this, I'm sensing some discomfort or a lot of questioning in the artist community. How do I reflect my world now? What is my responsibility to chronicle the times? I think that when you've centered on that joy and that sense of comfort, that is what you give. And that's actually the most beautiful thing and the most lasting thing you can give in tough times.
Yeah, I feel like I always like to have a sense of balance in my understanding of tough messages, because I don't do very well with BS. I'm relatively frank, you might have noticed. I feel like some people, when they want to go to joy, they go all the way to joy, and then it becomes vapid. And then some people, they want to go to activism, they go all the way to activism, and it just becomes really, really like nails on a chalkboard. And I think the idea is that the complexity of humanity is in the balance.
Yeah.
The complexity of what it is to exist and to interact with people isn't to live as a monolith, very much in, I'm going to write songs that are going to make you like just suffer. But I'm not also going to, and I'm not going to go through some kind of torture porn thing for someone else's like sense of fulfillment. That because I'm a plus size dark skinned woman, that like I am exactly the demographic of person that they expect to like leap into action.
Yeah.
I think there's a way to look at the world and to look at the things that are happening with still with a sense of joy and still with a sense of kind of solution mindedness, or with a style of analysis that isn't dragging through like the dirge and the mud of it all, you know? And so like, I think it's very easy to get polarized and to get myopic about what you think the job of the artist is.
Yes.
Like, it's not to be purely escapist. It's not to be purely over-engaged. It's the balance. And we need to stop thinking in binaries.
Yes.
We need to really start thinking on scale, like a gradation scale of going, today I'm going to be here, then this I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here. And the best thing you can do, if you feel like, what can I do as an artist? Tell the truth.
Exactly. But I was going
And it
to
doesn't
say,
matter how sad the truth is.
Right.
Or how happy the truth is.
Right.
Just something true.
well, the truth always has dimension to it.
It does.
Right? The truth always has complexity to it and nuance to it and layers to it. And I guess the good news is that these boxes, whether it's boxes of emotion or boxes of genre or boxes of people, they are getting bigger, right?
Yeah.
They are getting bigger
Yeah.
all the time. And maybe there comes a day when they are so big that they contain oceans.
Yes.
You know, and all of these echoes from the past are just like breaking down those walls.
That's what I hope. Like, I always talk about my bloodline. I'm a Kwati, and that's one of the kind of like OG names, thousands of years old name from the Ga tribe of Ghana.
Yes.
Or should I say, of present-day Ghana, settled the Accra Plains. But I'm like, and we're just known for being artsy as hell. And if I say that to someone who's Ghanaian, they're like, ha ha ha, you didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Ghanaians will literally like chuckle and go, oh, you didn't have a choice. You have to do all of it.
Yeah.
It's not even an option. You're all like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, right, good to know, because I didn't grow up with that side of my family.
Yeah.
So it's good to know. But yeah, these are the things that give us, when we tell the truth and we live truth, there is a lot you can fight.
Yes. Well, what did you say to me before? You said to just live in your body and walk through your life.
Yeah.
And that's all there is.
Yeah, but that you'd be surprised how controversial that is.
No, I know. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, but if you stay focused on that.
Yeah, I'm like, hi, this is my body. Nice to meet you. Hi, guys. Hey. I'm going to use it to walk through life and on hopefully my path that my life is supposed to walk across. Discover what that is, walk it, then die.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
But when you do it, you're showing that it can be done. And that's the thing. Just to take
that's
ownership of
actually
that.
highly rebellious,
Right?
and I know it.
And think about what that is opening up for next generation, right?
For even people older than me.
True.
I think just
For anyone who's ever in any box, which every single human experiences at one level. So just to be true to that, which is the most basic, most obvious, most difficult thing, right? In the end, it's really not hard at all.
In the end, it's actually really deeply simple to live in your own body and walk your own life.
Yeah.
And then find people that are aligned with the path that you are walking. Commit to your path.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
It will be beautiful.
Yeah.
There are things that are interesting. Because culture is interesting. And everyone has culture, whether they choose to engage with it or not. Like, I love interacting with different spaces and different cultures, and I understand and I enjoy the fascination of mostly eating, but also music and like art and all like that's. I love absorbing all those things. So it's kind of insane to me if people wouldn't want to look into what makes them and then use that to inform how they move through all these other spaces that are also super tasty and interesting and musical and wonderful and gorgeous.
And beyond category. And again, I mean, I think this is actually the superpower, is that once you take away all of those imaginary boundaries, this is the place where music can seriously create a room, a space, a world that is absolutely full of everybody for every reason.
Yeah. And I think, you were saying about like how, like what is it that we can do? And I was very kind of simple, just like tell the truth. Mm-hmm. But also, like community.
Yes, believe in it.
Believe in it.
Yeah.
What she said. Believe in it.